Okay, so how does one get into hydration and investing into beverage manufacturers and stuff?
Yeah. So when we first started, we were just in fitness equipment, right? And so I had these ideas, and when I was in, I'll take a step back. When it was in high school, my senior year, I went from 5'4" to 6'1", right? But still weighed 135 pounds. So I'm walking around like a baby giraffe. And I always wanted to play sports, and so I got in the weight room. And so when I went to college, I was at 6'1", that 135, and in the weight room, I just like, oh, what if we could do this? What if maybe this would be better, right? And I graduated at 175. So like I really worked at it. And when sports didn't work out, I went straight into, okay, my engineering mind of, okay, well, what if I kind of create this and go try to sell it to somebody? And everybody would say, oh, that's a great idea. Do you have a patent on it? Okay, well, let me file a patent. Okay, now you have a patent. How much does it cost? Well, I don't know. So I'm on a plane to China, and I'm just educating, right? And so people started coming to me, and nobody was buying my stuff. But like, that's cool. Like, I see your mind. Can you develop this for us?
Yeah, and so hold on, just to back up. So you're athlete, moving around, playing sports, you hit this massive growth spurt. And so for you, you're like, hey, I want to get in the gym. But in order to get in the gym, get optimum results, you had to learn some of the supplementation. Am I tracking correctly?
Yeah, supplementation, and then how to properly use the fitness equipment, right? So I'm calling my dad who managed health spas, and I'm like, Dad, how do I even use this piece of equipment, right? And it's just hard work. I mean, there's no secrets, right? Supplementation's helped. There's a lot of like protein shakes, a lot of calorie, like intense product, right?
Sure. So you learned the supplementation game just out of sheer necessity from wanting to get healthy, wanting to get in better shape because you hit this growth spurt. Yeah. But you're also an athlete. Soccer was your sport in college.
Soccer.
You were playing college level soccer. Okay. Yeah. So then that doesn't work out. You don't go pro.
Right. Yeah. I wanted to. Right. I worked hard for it, but I broke my leg before I even had a chance. Right. And I mean, if we look at it, that's not where God ever had me going.
Sure.
So it's really a blessing in disguise. But yeah, I mean, you're summing it up really well.
Yeah. So you get injured and you're like, hey, I'm not going to be an athlete, but I'm passionate about this other thing because you've seen the benefits of supplementation training. And so that's how you get on the journey to learn about supplementing and all these things.
100%.
Okay. Yeah. So how does that begin for you? Like 17 years, the companies you run are massively successful. Like just outlandish numbers that most minds can't even comprehend. How does one go from athlete in college who then starts in this entrepreneur journey to being, and if you could talk about numbers, if you feel comfortable.
Yeah. And we'll talk about them to a certain extent.
Okay.
And I mean, what I like to say is you take baby steps quickly.
Okay.
Right. Always be prepared for the next step, but don't rush it.
Okay.
You know, and like a lot of my testimony to where we're going to go, it was chasing money, right? And constantly trying to find the next win.
Okay.
Where I feel like I am now with what you know and what we'll talk about more and more. I mean, I don't know that there's a direct path, the same path for everybody. You know, everyone wants to say, hey, here's how you do it. But you're a unique person. You have your own mind from God. You have wisdom instilled from God, and your skill sets are different, right? And so I can't sit here and say, this is how you're going to get to that win.
Sure.
But you do have to have grit. Okay. You do have to trust in the Lord. You do have to go through some hard times, and you do have to take some chances, right? Like risk and reward is a real thing. Yeah. And then once you have it, you have to know how to steward it properly. One of my favorite things is Exodus 23. You know, I will deliver it to you little by little because you couldn't handle it all if it came at once. So you have to be able to understand when things come, how to accept them.
Let's look up that verse. But I will not drive them out in a single year because the land will become desolate and the wild animals too numerous for you. Little by little, I will drive them out before you until you have increased enough to take possession of the land.
So if we apply that to business, right? It's everybody wants the big win overnight. But being able to accept it little by little is how you establish a foundation. I mean, it's all biblical. Sure. Right? I mean, money is spiritual. And so if we take a look at this, we are told the playbook of how to run a business, how to grow a business, how to manage a business in the Bible. Right? And so this is one of those rules is, all right, like be prepared to dig in and build it over time. Because then when the wind blows, the house isn't going to fall over. Right? And that includes building a team. That includes making sure you have the right product. That includes the quality of it, right? And that includes not cutting corners.
So for you, when you're initially getting into the entrepreneur journey, how much is faith playing a role for you, or are you kind of not really walking with Jesus in this season initially?
And initially, I wasn't walking with Jesus like I should. I would stand up for God. I would defend him. I would believe. I'd read my Bible. But it was always like about money. I would make the decision. I wouldn't consult God making that decision. Right? It's, well, that's a great opportunity. The numbers look good. Data's good. Let's run with it. And it wasn't, hey, God, like, what do you think? Is this what you want me to do? Which is really all that matters at the end of the day. And so, we built some really nice businesses. We had some big wins. We had some big losses. But in the end of the day, we were up more than we were down, right? But it seemed hectic. Like I was constantly chasing and finding things that weren't necessarily sustainable, but I could get wins.
And so, in getting those wins, would you say you're not necessarily being driven by your faith, but it sounds like your faith is still shaping your worldview in terms of how you're pursuing business, how you're how you're perceiving business, and how you're perceiving finances, resources, solving problems, starting things, passing them on, so on and so forth.
Yeah, well said. I mean, the reality was having God in my back pocket made me feel good. That was my security blanket. I always have God. But the problem was God was in my back pocket. He wasn't a forefront of my heart.
You had God, but God didn't have you.
Yeah, and God never left me. Like he hung out in my back pocket, and he had a plan for me. And his timing is perfect. And he put on a full-on assault on me to get me to where I needed to be for him.
Right. So in this entrepreneur journey, when do you feel like you hit your first like breakthrough when you went like, oh man, like I go from being a college student that didn't make it as an athlete to like, whoa, like this is a thing I'm able to sustain me and my family and be generous and live comfortably.
It's probably 3 years in.
Okay.
So we got a pretty big account in Beachbody.
Okay.
If you remember P90X and like the resistance tubing, the adjustable handle, like we did those manufacturing.
Okay.
So that was a large volume.
Okay.
Right. And then we picked up groups like Zumba. Right. And then we started to create our own brand, which is XD. Like, have you ever seen those Kevlar med balls? Right. We went and signed a deal with DuPont, made Kevlar fitness equipment. Right. And then we got our feet under ourselves because that was our first own brand that we started. Right. But we didn't truly have success until we went to supplementation.
Okay.
Because the problem is you buy one of my Kevlar balls, you'd have it for 3 years. And I'm like, okay, you buy a bag of protein, you need it every month.
Right.
And so naturally, I was like, well, if I can take my product development into this space and still supply others, and in reality, it's a completely different world, but it's the same world. Like I have this thought that coaches, if they're good coaches, they can coach any sport. And that's that's similar in business. At some point, if you can lead a business, then you can lead a business in different sectors, right? And so that's what we did from fitness equipment to supplementation. Still about health, still about wellness, but we were able to take our processes and go collect clients, and make product for them.
So you get some wins early on, about 3 years in, but then it really starts to unpack as you get into something that is a recurring item that people will buy from you.
Yeah, exactly. So greens, reds, we were on the forefront of that trend when reds became hot.
What do you mean by when reds became hot?
So when you have greens as a tagline, right? It's like, oh, everybody take your greens. And the green powders came into the market. And they've always been around, but they became, I guess hot. Everybody's Googling them. Everybody's searching for them. Everybody needs the greens. And then there's red. So there's veggies and then there's fruits. And we were picking up a couple customers. I mean, they were moving hundreds of thousands of units a month, right? And so that was the scale, right? But here's the problem is every time I would pick one of those, we would be chasing. So it's like, well, what can we take with this opportunity? So instead of the little by little, we tried to go for the promised land and go for the jugular. And so there's one case when we have a customer and they're moving 350,000 units a month, serious numbers, right? And we in the factory that was running it, was like, oh man, we're going to run out of cash. Like we're going to file bankruptcy. And I was like, well, I'll just buy them out of bankruptcy and I'll take over the manufacturing. So I'm going for the jugular. I'm going to control the manufacturing. I'm going to supply the customer. I'm going to, have both sides of this because the margin the manufacturer is making, I can absorb too. So it makes sense to me on paper. But that was one of the worst decisions I've made.
Okay.
And because I was chasing money, I did not consult God one time on that. And that's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to not tear up knowing exactly what he's delivered me now. But I mean, man, in that situation, the CEO, not tied to the factory, but he ended up in prison. Like it was a volatile situation. And we ended up.
So you ended up buying this factory?
We bought it out of bankruptcy.
Okay.
And as soon as we were legally allowed to sell it, we sold it. And we just sold the equipment and we moved on, right? And we ended up losing that customer too in the process. So because we were chasing money. And there wasn't a foundation, it was just chasing the deal. And like we were good at making deals and we were intelligent about it. But again, we did it ourselves. And that's
interesting.
Yeah, and that's been the tough part until I guess recently.
Yeah.